welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to some of you. This is our second Digital Citizenship Breakfast Byte in the series. I'm Elizabeth, mother of two rebel girls and director of Encompasses Families Europe. And I'll be co-hosting this Byte with Martin, new dad in lockdown and senior policy and advocacy manager of Encompasses Families Europe, specializing in digital affairs. Voila, Martin.
Yeah, so hi everyone. We can't really see you or hear you, but if you look at the bottom right of your screen, you have the chat feature, which many of you have already used. Maybe for those of you that haven't, you can type in your country, the name of your organization. It'd be nice to see who's there. So we already know that there's a lot of people from all around Europe. When you chat, just to be sure to select panelists and all attendees, otherwise we can't read you. And we could also try a poll to understand kind of who's in the room. So Liz, are you going to launch the first poll? There we go. So I'll answer as well.
I probably should have put
I
gamer
can't.
in there,
Okay.
no?
What's that?
Gamer,
yeah, gamer maybe,
no?
yeah. We'll see how they identify. Maybe they could put in the chat if the option is not there.
We have some media, some European NGOs, some parents, policymakers, researchers, students, teachers, quite a few.
So a very
speakers.
Varied audience.
Okay. A few more
Good.
votes, some of you? We'll just let a few more people. Think tank, okay, we have also. Hello, Utrecht. Hello, Mira from Bulgaria. Hello, Macedonia.
Wow.
There's something quite
Nice.
mind-blowing to this stuff.
Yeah, that we have it from all around Europe. It's nice. Not in the
Right,
world,
as
actually.
more and more people join, then we'll never reach the full poll. So I think I'm gonna slowly end it.
Yeah.
Last few votes, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. This is who we have. Can you see that?
Oh, a lot of teachers and NGOs. That's great. So
quite a
yeah, you
majority
know
of
who
teachers,
the audience is.
students, researchers, policymakers, think tanks, citizens, parents.
Right.
It depends. Obviously, you're probably also a mix of these things, but you've put what you most identify with. So that's great. That gives us an idea of who we're talking to. Thank you very much, everyone. So yeah, quite a mix. And well, I think with a big delegation from Croatia, because we were meant to be in Zagreb today for the conference. So to kick off the webinar series, we sent the video message of the Executive Vice President Vestager to all. It's also online on our website and social media, so feel free to share. But we just want to thank the Executive Vice President on behalf of Encompasses Families Europe for her support and tireless work to help shape a digital Europe that works for society. And so we very much appreciate her being with us in spirit. Now, before starting with Julien, Martin, I wonder any tips we should share in terms of the housekeeping next steps?
Yeah, so first of all, make sure that you're close to your Wi-Fi router or that you are plugged in with the Ethernet cable to ensure that you have a smooth webinar experience. And that's also valid for me, by the way. I hope you have your cup of tea, coffee, juice, or water, like me, ready to accompany this breakfast bite. And here's a little poll to see what you're drinking.
I'm just curious, sorry.
That's also very important, I think.
Okay, big tea. Okay, coffee.
So you're already thinking of what questions to put to Julien in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. So after their presentation, you can think about that. So there's a Q&A button for questions, not for chat, please. If you're on Twitter, Instagram, talking about the breakfast bites, please tag us. It's at Encompasses _families. What is it? Or EU, @_EU. That's it. That's our Twitter, I think. And I think that's it for me. So let's go.
Coffee.
And people are drinking coffee.
Coffee is
That's not going to hydrate you guys. You're going to be dehydrated by the end of this
Who
bite.
is drinking cocktails? Come on. Come on. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's start. Well, the second of our breakfast bites is going to focus on video games as, well, video games for educational purposes and citizenship building. So to enlighten us on the subject, we have with us Julien Annart. Thank you for being with us. He's teacher and gaming project manager of FEMINISM, Fédération de maisons, de jeunes et organisation de jeunesse in Belgium. Want to say a few words about him, Martin? Or?
Yeah. So Julien is a teacher since almost 20 years. Since 2010, he's dedicated to culture, education, and events with video games. He created the first video games exhibition space in Belgium. He is a columnist for several media. He also gives adult trainings. He organizes the Meet and Build, an event dedicated to gaming professionals, and is working with several institutions, governmental agencies, museums, about the topic of video games.
Thank you for being with us, Julien.
Thank you.
Sound check.
Okay. So hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Elizabeth and Martin, for this introduction and the invitation. So hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk about video game and citizenship. The two words are not naturally linked, but you sure I'm going to try something. So I will
Julien, I wonder, before starting, should we try a little poll to understand where people stand on gaming?
Yeah, we have two little questions that'll help you as well to sort of know about the audience.
Guess, you know, as a parent, you know, video gaming for me is more associated with leisure and fun, kind of pure fun. And so I've never really thought of the educational value, let alone the citizenship value. So I think it'll be an interesting myth-busting session. But before we start, maybe we see where people stand as well. Let's try this little one. How do people feel about this? For me, it would be a no, if I'm honest. Yeah.
You will give your advice after the talk also.
I am noting down religiously everything you're saying.
Julien has a 300-page paper, by the way, a book that you can read about that.
Yeah, but only in French, unfortunately.
Only in French, yeah.
So we have about 70 people tuned in, so I'm just going to let the 70, or at least near 70, vote.
Oh, 70.
Okay.
Wow.
And the polling.
No pressure.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
I will share the link with you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Good to see you here.
So it's a general yes, but some people like me, no. Okay. Julien, should we do a second poll?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. To understand who we're talking to and where you stand. Okay, second poll is this. Oh, and then there's a little typo in there, sorry. How often do you, your children, your pupils play video games? Anything from mobile phone to console games. Every day, every few days, once a week, a few times a month, and only rarely. So we'll just give a few, oh yeah, okay, Martin put a link in the chat. We'll just give a few minutes more to people to express themselves. And here we go.
Oh, nice. Every day. We have half of the audience are gamers.
Well, my husband is on Candy Crush every day, I can tell you. I mean,
what's the educational value there?
I'm sure there must be. There
must be.
Okay, great. Julien, I hope that gives a feel of the audience and where they stand in relation to gaming. So go for it.
Okay, I will share with you my PowerPoint, the PowerPoint of the presentation. I hope you all see.
Yeah.
Okay. Just, okay. So I can see Elizabeth and Martin. So is the PowerPoint visible? Okay, great. So video game and civic engagement, state of play, great title. Thank you, Elizabeth. So let's begin. Up. So as you heard with the great presentation by Elizabeth and Martin, I'm working with video games since years and years about education, about culture, and with the industry. But since 5 years, I'm also working on a book about education with video games. You can download the third version of this book on this website. For the moment, it's only in French. I'm sorry for all my European fellows, but you can download it. It's 200 pages of workshop, of tools, of games, of a lot of ID. There is a wonderful team behind this book who wrote chapters to learn mathematics, French, science, philosophy with video games. So don't hesitate to download it and to have a look. You will also find maybe 300 games to help you for teaching and for learning. But that's not the subject of today. So what are we going to talk today? We're going to talk about two things, citizenship and video games. And maybe it's not easy to put these two words together because as Elizabeth said, citizenship is, video game is about leisure. The themes to be about only pleasure. And citizenship is a really serious thing. What I'm going to try with you is to think about this question and to think how we can build links between these two words and these two ideas. So the first thing to do is to give a definition of these two terms. Video game is really easy to have a definition of video games because it's digital games played with at least one screen. And so as we are in a digital society today and screens are everywhere, so video games also are everywhere. And that's important because in my point of view, video games are not anymore just a question of entertainment. It's also a political question, and so it's a citizenship question. And we have today people in this talk that almost everyone here has at least played a game in his life, so it's going to be easier to understand it. But second question is digital citizenship. What is digital citizenship? And to be clear and to be honest, I don't know. I don't have a clear answer to this question, but we could maybe agree about a few words like civil rights or civil duties. About maybe our place in our city, in our society. Maybe can we also link digital citizenship with politics? Not political parties, but politics made by peoples. Their choices, their rights, the idea behind their rights, like freedom, equality, democratic power. I'm gonna try to talk about all these ideas and connect these ideas with video game and trying to answer to one question: how could video games be tools for digital citizenship? I hope we will answer to this question. Maybe not, but maybe I will give you ideas in that direction. So, first kind of political video games. So I've identified three kinds of them. The first one is political advertising games. Maybe did you heard about this kind of games? They are really interesting because gaming is an industry since almost 50 years, since Pong in 72, and today gaming is more than an industry, is a culture, and everyone knows about video game. Even if you have never played to Pac-Man, you know what is Pac-Man. And so this culture is everywhere, so it's good enough for marketing, and political marketing can use it. So the first game we're going to talk about political marketing is Fiscal Combat. Fiscal Combat is a game made by amateurs, not linked to the party in Jean-Luc Mélenchon, La France Insoumise. They are not linked to, but they make this game. It's a kind of fighting game, and you have to fight against rich people to make them pay their taxes. and to apply the program of La France Insoumise. That's an amateur game. It's really funny. It's not a great game, of course, but it's funny. And of course, all the French media talk about this game. The second game is a little bit more known. It's Corbyn Run. So it was made in the same years. It was 3 years ago for British election. And so it's a running game. Maybe do you know that kind of game? It's really common on a mobile game. So you are Jeremy Corbyn, and you run, and you have to fight against all your enemies. Your enemies are rich, are lies from the Tories, and even Margaret Thatcher ghost. I think that, yeah, that's kind of funny. That's kind of strange also. And what's really interesting with this game, it's that when you fight against these enemies, you fight to apply the labor program. So you take taxes to build houses, to build hospitals, etc., etc. So the idea is these two games are marketing, but they are marketing when playing this game, you understand the party's program. And what you can see with these two marketing objects, you can learn two things. First thing is video games are now a mainstream culture. So mainstream that even political parties use them for communication. You know that in politics, you must talk to everyone. So you must use things and references that everyone can understand. The second thing you can learn with these two games is that even the media as video game usually associated to violence, childhood, or addiction can now be political. And that's maybe the heart of my talk, that with video games, everything is about politics. The first two examples are not the best example, of course. It's just to say that even politics have understood that. And what can we do us as citizens or as teacher, as non-governmental agencies? What can we do with video game? How can we use it to develop citizenship, to learn about citizenship? So that's the second, that's what we are going to see with second kind of political games. Second kind of political games is games with political subject. So the first two games were free games to download. You can download it on your mobile or even on your computer. The second kind of game are commercial games, so you have to buy it. These games, they are commercial games, but they have they talk about political subject. First example you can see with this picture is a game called, it's a Polish game called This War of Mine. In this game, you manage a little community of citizens during the siege of Sarajevo, during the Yugoslavian civil war. So as you can see, the subject is not really funny. It's not Super Mario Bros. There is no rainbow or unicorns. It's some kind of, you manage a small community. And you try with your choices to make this community survive to this situation. 3 years ago, I made a workshop with this game, and one student said to me, "This is a mix between The Sims and Call of Duty," and I think he was right, because it's really a management game, but I'm trying to make this civilian survive. You make choice, and in that choices, a lot of choices are really rough to take. For one example, during the night, because during the day there are snipers, during the night you can leave your shell to trying to find food, and you can find food, but you have to take it to 2 elders, and if you came back 3 or 4 days later, the 2 elders are dead because you took their food. but you have to do it to save your community. So, and that's really a game about war, but not seen by military, but seen by civilian. Talking about Call of Duty, you probably heard about this game and this series because it's one of the most profitable game series ever. In this series, you've got to invite countries like Iraq or Russia to bring democracy through bombing, torture, and killing. And you have to kill thousands of people with real-life weapons. And the game is some kind of advertising for real-life weapons. And yes, it sounds like a conservative Hollywood movies or Donald Trump speech, and it's just like. And what's really interesting with this game is sold as entertainment, a non-political entertainment. But this game talks all the time about politics and about citizenship, because in this game, torture works. You have to torture some enemies to have information. In this game, war is the answer to all questions. In this game, you are a real man if you kill people, etc., etc. So what is interesting about Call of Duty is that Call of Duty have a clear political angle. A clear political point of view, a conservative point of view, but a political point of view. And so that's the same thing with This War of Mine and Call of Duty. The two games talk about politics, and they are real games, and they sell very well. Call of Duty sell maybe, we don't have the real number, but we know that they are really high. We're talking about billions of dollars, and This War of Mine sells 6 million units. So they are real success, but they have clear political point of view. Last example, it's a French game. It's called Bury Me, My Love. It's a game where you play Madge. Madge is a Syrian young man living in Syria today. And you're in contact with your spouse, Noor, and Noor is leaving Syria to go to Berlin. And you're in, the game is just like an app on your phone, just like, for example, WhatsApp. And so you're in contact with your wife every day, and every day she sends you pictures, just like this, to talk about her travel through a travel to Europe to go to Berlin. And she also often asks you to advise what can I do? Do I have to buy this? Do I have to believe these people, etc., etc. And so that's a game because it's interactive. You have to make choices. You have to give her advice. Maybe she will follow this advice, maybe not. And one of the main gameplay idea of this game is it's in real time. When you begin the game, you will receive pictures and text in real time. And the game is 1 week long. So you can, I remember once I was going to sleep, it was 11 p.m. and my phone was ringing. I took my phone and I said, "What is it? Is it my family at this hour?" And it was Madge. It was new. She was sending me. She was asking me an advice for a travel. So this is really a wonderful game. This is also a great game to understand what are refugees' life during this travel.
Julien,
yeah.
We have a few questions in the chat. Could you repeat the names of the games you've just described? So there's Call of Duty.
Yeah, so the first game is This War of Mine.
This War of Mine. So I guess by typing in a search engine, you can find
maybe it could be easier if I send all the name of the game.
Could you do that? Could you add them to the chat? I think that would help because then they could take a look while, you know. So there's Call of Duty, there's War of Mine, This War of Mine.
Bury Me, My Love. Bury Me, My Love.
Could you?
I copied them all. I copied the links into the chat already.
Great.
Okay, so you put Call of Duty, you put War of Mine, and the last one?
Bury Me, My Love.
Bury me, my love.
Yeah, it's a Syrian expression to say, I don't want to die before you.
Oh my gosh.
I want to, no, I don't want to die after you. I want to die before you because I love you so much. I can't live without you. It's a Syrian
so Martin,
expression.
you put that one as well? Bury me, my love? Super. Thank you.
Do not hesitate with any question. So these are commercial political games, but you can also find a lot of just political games. Games that are made by artists or activists or students, mostly are free. They are not commercial at all. And these games are made to talk about politics. They don't hide behind gameplay. They don't hide behind fun or entertainment. They say, okay, games are a media. Every media is politics, so we are going to talk about politics. First examples, it came from, as you can see, there are a lot of European games. These games come from Italy, so it's from a studio called La Mole Industria. Sorry for my Italian accent. And you can find almost 30 games, mostly are free. And all these games are about a Marxist point of view to our society. So as you can see, there is a game about McDonald's. There is a game about the right to have weapons. There is a game about phones. There is a game about urban question, etc. and so on. And all these games are critiques against capitalism, but they are also critiques against commercial games and their conservative point of view. And that's really interesting because they are really smart games. Because if you want to use them to teach or to learn with adults, they do have, two points of view. The first point of view is a critique against capitalism, as you can see in novels or in movies. But the second point of view is how do gameplay influence the gamers? So I will talk just 1 minute about gameplay. I will not be technical. Gameplay is the way you act in a game. So it's the tools gave by the creators to the player. So the things you can do in a game. And so that's really important because if you know Call of Duty are really violent games, not only because they are about war, but it's mostly maybe because the only thing you can do in Call of Duty is to kill people. You can heal people. And so that's how Call of Duty gameplay is violent. And that's how Call of Duty talk about politics. Call of Duty said, in war, there is only soldiers and there is only killing. There is nothing else. There is no war crimes. There is no rape, etc., etc. So that's how gameplay talk about politics. So that was my example for political games. You can go to their website. All the games are free and they are really interesting to analyze. Even if you are not Marxist, you can, no problem. So the second thing I wanted to talk about politics and video games is how you can learn citizenship, because it's the title of the talk, how you can learn citizenship with video games. And so learning citizenship, we are not born citizens. I think so. Citizenship is rights and duties, but you have to learn them. And how could you learn them better than doing? It's learning by doing. It's not learning by listening, it's learning by doing. And learning by doing is the heart of video game, because with video game are interactive media. So you have to do things. So, and when you are doing things, you learn, because in video games, you learn by try and retry. In video game, we say die and retry. You die, you retry, you try another way to do things. So video games are great tools for learning. And how can you learn citizenship with this? I will give you example. Just one last point. The great thing with video games is that they are tools for learning, but not learning only like, like students, but learning like everyone. Everyone can learn with video game, because there is a video game for everyone. Everyone is a player. Just most of the people don't know that. And you can learn, so everyone can learn, and everywhere, not just in school or in university, but everywhere. Today, I'm still a teacher. I love my work, but I almost teach only adults. And what we do is not school. We do is workshop. We do workshop with adults. I do workshop with adults, and so it works. Video game works even with adults, even with non-gamers, even with non-players, because it's just trying to do things, and by trying to do things, you learn. So the example you can see on this slide, on this picture, is a project, it's a workshop project in Liège, in Belgium. So the idea is there is a great, I just noticed there is a great urban planning project. And the idea of the city is to, what can we do with citizens to make them understand in project and maybe participate? And the idea is to modelize the city of Liège with Minecraft. So there is a small team, and each week there is a workshop. You can go free to this workshop to modelize the city with Minecraft. And I think this project is running since 1 year. It's already a great success. Of course, the majority of the players in this game have less than 30 years, but there are also adults and elders playing this game. And this game is a great tool to understand a question, a so complicated question as urbanity. Another example, and you understand that because you are doing things about your city. A second example, a great example, a game I really like this. So this game was Minecraft. I think you heard about this because it's really known. The second game is Overcooked. So Overcooked is a game about cooking, but you can cook in a lot of different places. It's really fun. It's some kind of cartoon, as you can see. But the thing with Overcooked, so it's one screen, and you can play from 2 players to 4 players, and you have to cooperate to manage all the mission you have, and with a limited amount of time. So you have to cooperate. And with this game, I make a workshop about collaboration, about cooperation. And this is really amazing to see people using different strategies to succeed. And with these different strategies, what's the point is that all the strategies are talking about politics, because you can be a real democratic organization, just almost anarchy. Everyone do what he wants. Or you can have one leader, but the leader is the leader who play the most game, who know the most game. It's some kind, of aristocracy. Or you can have one people shouting louder than the other people, and it's a kind of tyranny. And so all the interaction between players are political. And this is really a great game to understand political systems. And also a great game to talk about and to think and to learn about cooperative strategies.
Sorry, which game is that?
Overcooked.
Overcooked?
Yeah. It's a British game. So as you can see, almost all the indie games I've selected are European games. So game like Call of Duty has what we call blockbuster or AAA games, a really huge game with a lot of money, a lot of marketing, and game like This War of Mine, Bury Me My Love, or Overcooked are smaller game, and we call them indie game because they are made by indie studios. Yeah, smaller team and
Indie
smaller
game.
marketing.
Yeah, it really is a culture. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Another example of how game can help us learning citizenship by doing is a game named Kind Words. I don't know its nationality. It's a really great game. So you play this little boy in his room, and you can write letters to people you don't know everywhere in the world, but you have to write letters. You have to do you can do two things: or talk about your feelings, your situation, ask question, or answer to another one letters and answer this question. But everything is done anonymously, so no one knows who you are. And the game have a gameplay that say to people, play this game with kind words. So that's the title of the game. Play this game with kind words. Be kind to each other. And it's some kind of miracle because we all know the trolling culture of internet. And this game is some kind of miracle because you can play this, you can talk about your feelings, your deep feelings, and all you will receive is kind words. I never receive bad words, never. And so this is really a great game, a great idea, or be kind to each other, understand your feeling. You can talk about your feeling. You can share that feeling. You can maybe we are more human by talking about your feeling, our feeling maybe, and the game sends you a lot of little things to encourage kind words. I really recommend this game. I think it's only €3 to buy it. It's really a great game.
Julien, we have one question which might be relevant specifically to what you're saying from Elizabeth. Is someone moderating the game so that nothing mean is sent?
Mm-hmm. No, it's the miracle because there is no, it's about gameplay, you know. A gameplay is so the thing you do in a game and how the game answer to you. For example, I'm in Call of Duty, I kill a lot of people. What the game answer to me is I receive a lot of points, I receive a lot of new weapons, I see a great explosion, I see great pictures, and I go through the story of the game. If the game send me that I don't kill people, I will be killed, I will lose, the game will say game over. So the gameplay is talking to the players. And in kind words, it's the same thing. The gameplay is talking to the player. If you send nice words, other players will answer to you. And if you receive bad words, mean words, you can there is a lot of option to block people or to send a signal to the game. If you send bad words, you will be blocked in the game. The game can show you to exit if you are a bad player, you know. So it's as we say about Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, etc. It's all about the algorithm. What you put in the algorithm make you give the players what they have to do. So it's also why video games are politics. I hope this answer to the question. And last example, it's a role-playing game I made. It's called Chemin, so ways. And it's a game about learning philosophy. So you know, philosophy is really a complicated thing, thing to learn. And what I also teach philosophy, and what I was sure is that everyone can learn philosophy, and philosophy is for everyone, because it's important. It can learn you to think, and it's really important, especially if you are for everyone. So, and this game is a game, or you play a small team of survivors, and you have to make choices. And all these choices are about ethics, about politics, about philosophy. And so I've played this game with really a lot of different people. I play with 5 people, I play with 300 people. And every time it was a success. And with really different people, even with people with absolutely no education, and I play also with people from universities, and all the people were in the game thanks to the stories, and thanks to the fact that they have to make choices, and their choices have consequences. And
sorry to interrupt. This is chemin, right?
Yeah, but you can only find this in the book Education.
Okay, thanks. It's just some questions of clarification. Thanks.
No problem. So, and I really like this game because it shows that one thing seen as really complicated as philosophy can be learned by everyone, and can be learned by doing by everyone, thanks to games, because games are a way to do things. So, where am I? Okay. As you can see, politics and citizenship are already linked. But there is more, because video games are already a political question. In 2018, Belgium was the first country in the world to ban loot boxes. Loot boxes, as you can see here, this is some kind of boxes in a game you can buy with real money, but you don't know what kind of treasure is in that boxes. So Belgian government say, okay, it's not video game, it's a money game. So it's forbidden to teenagers. You have to have 80 years old to play. So they are banned in Belgium, and a lot of other European countries also ban it after. So as you can see, video games are already a political subject. It's not only about citizenship in the game, it's also citizenship about the games. So I will give you different examples about that question. So I guess that everyone knows Fortnite, because it's one of the most successful games in the last years. So Fortnite this is an article from a website called Polygon, a great website about video games. So Fortnite is free, but its economic models is based on the skin, the clothes you can buy for your avatar. To be different than other players. And if you don't put money in the game, you can play the game without paying anything. You will have only you will not have specific clothes. You will have normal clothes, and everyone will call you what they call is a Bambi. A Bambi is a player with no money. And so there is, unfortunately, bullying in this game about the money you can put it. Because the heart of Fortnite is not really about killing people, because Fortnite is really some kind of cartoon. The heart of Fortnite is a social situation. What kind of links you can have with other players, and what kind of what is your social situation in the game. Fortnite is really closer with Facebook than with Call of Duty. And so to show your social situation, you have to buy clothes. And if you don't have money to buy clothes, you can be bullied or you can be refused to be part of some teams. So that's really a question. And we know that bullying is a real problem, a real online problem for every games. So this is also a political question. How can we change that to stop bullying online? And it's not just that people are stupid or Fortnite is bad. It's not just that. It's also a question of course, business model, but we are going to talk about business model after. But it's also a question of marketing, because marketing in video games is really pushed to be better. It's often made in a competitive way. So video game, blockbuster video game, not all video game, of course, a lot of blockbuster video game are about competition. And in competition, you have winners and you have losers. And in marketing, in video game marketing, losers are often bullied because they are losers, you know. And maybe it's also a political question. What kind of society do we want? And what kind of society do we want in video games, in online video games? Because today, almost every video game is online. A second problem of citizenship in video games is what we call toxic masculinity. So toxic masculinity is not just an idea. It's a concept made by universities after research. And the idea of toxic masculinity in video games is that since almost 20 years, some blockbuster video game promoted a specific kind of masculinity. This is a masculinity with muscles, violence addict, a competitive spirit with a dark soul. We were talking about dark soul. Young, between 20 and 30, white, heterosexual, and viewing women are trophies. So maybe you do want to play that kind of heroes, but you don't want to live with that kind of men. And that's really a problem also. What do we want as avatar in our game? What do we want to promote as citizen in our game? Is that kind of masculinity the thing we want in our society? And in toxic masculinity, there is a specific kind of masculinity really important in video games. So the screen you can see here is the screen of a huge worldwide editor. It's called Ubisoft. They are the fourth worldwide editors of video games. And you can see 5 different video games. In all these video games, there is this militarized masculinity. So this is also a specific kind of masculinity, only dedicated to war, military, soldiers, violence, aggression. And so the idea is, this is what gender is about. If you are a man, you have to be this kind of man. And this is also really toxic, because of course you have to be violent with other people, but this is also violent to you, because it's saying if you're not like that, you're not a man. Or we all know that there is all different kind of men. And maybe that kind of man is not the better, but it's just an opinion. And one of the important things about citizenship in games, when you heard about video games, when the media talk about video games, they often talk about violence and addiction, despite the lack of science results to prove this. But maybe it could be more interesting to talk about business models, because business models, as we saw with Fortnite, business models are really important for making a video game, because video games today a commercial culture. So business model is the first thing you think about when you made a video game. And let's take one example. Candy Crush Saga. I think you have this is also a really well-known game. This is a free-to-play game on mobile, designed for mobile, and there is so many problems with this game. I can give you just two examples. So the game and the gameplay is designed for frustration. So if you download this game, you will play during 5 or 10 minutes and everything will be fine. A lot of different colors, a lot of success. And after 10 minutes, you will lose all your lives because the game is designed to frustrate you. And the game will give you two choices. Or you will wait 20 minutes with new lives, or you can buy new life directly. And so if you play this game, it will be always like this. The game is free to download, but if you want to have success in this game, you will have to pay. And the second problem with Candy Crush Saga is not just that this bad business problem. It's also that the game will mine all the data in your smartphone. It will take all your data. And even with RGPD, it's a problem because the game will spy you. What you do, and how many times it will take you to pay real money in the game will spy this and will build a data design profile to be more efficient with frustration. That's really a problem. So we often talk, media often talk about addiction with video games. For the moment, there is no scientific proof of addiction, but there is indeed some players playing too much, or some players putting too much money in some games. And the problem is not, I think the problem is not addiction, the problem is business model. And we can also ask questions to this aspect of video game. And I also think it's a question of citizenship. Just to be clear, no, sorry. And one last question about citizenship in video games. I just have a look at what time is it? Okay. One last question about citizenship in video games is the question of the representation. So for who are blockbuster design and who do they represent? If you see in the majority of the blockbuster, a study was made five years ago, and they say that 80% of the blockbuster heroes are white, young, heterosexual men. So there is no women, there is no LGBTQ, there is no non-white people. And that's really a problem because women are often reduced to sexual objects in the blockbuster. There are trophies that you receive if you win the game. LGBTQ are absent or sometimes mocked, and non-white people are often represented as a danger or reduced to cliché.
Sorry, what was this study?
The name of the study?
Yes.
Oh, I don't have it. I will
okay.
Send you later.
But okay, I was just wondering. And you said it's an American study.
Sorry?
It's an American study.
No, it's not an American study. I think it's European.
Okay,
but it's about blockbuster, and the majority of blockbuster are American.
Thanks.
And so, but that was 5 years ago, and things are changing. So just to be clear, it's the same thing about violence and about representation. I'm not saying that all video games are pushing to violence, are racist, are non-feminist, etc. It's not. No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that some blockbusters do have this problem of representation. And as we know, in a society like ours with so much media, representation are a political question, are a question of citizenship. And we have to send this point to this video game. And as I say, the majority of video games don't have this problem, but the majority of this video game don't sell so much than blockbuster, and they are not so much publicized as these blockbusters. But thankfully, things are changing the recent years. So conclusion. Let's go back to our initial question. How could video game be tools for digital citizenship? I think we can answer two things to that question. The first thing is they are political objects. As we saw, they are political objects. There are a lot of political questions about video games. They ask questions and they give answer. And so this is a political object already. And so this is already a citizenship question. But there is another answer. Thanks to video game, we can learn citizenship, because video games are a lot of strengths to learn citizenship. I will just give you 5 examples of this strength. The first thing, they give immediate feedback. So you're doing one thing and you have an answer just after try this thing. The second thing, and you can try and make errors without any time limits. So there is no limit of what you can try. The third thing is you can learn by doing, and learn by doing is really great because it's accessible for everyone. Everyone can learn, try, make error, and try again. The fourth thing, they are enjoyable, and the fact that video games are enjoyable is really great for learning for everyone, because it's easier to learn with something enjoyable. I don't say that video game are answer to all the school with all the problem with learning. No, I just say that they are one tool amongst others, and this is a great tool. And last thing, they are problem based, because every game asks you question, present you problem, and you have to try to solve this problem. And so that's also a great way to learn. But as I said, video games are not the answer to all the questions. Video games are not the answer to all problems. Video games are not a magic solution for learning. They need teachers, they need educators, they need people to think how we can use it. They need people to put people together to play, and after that to talk together, because it's by talking after playing or before playing that you learn. In fact, as you can see, especially with online games, it's the social contact between people that can make people learn, because the social contact, this is already politics, this is already citizenship. As digital native don't exist, video game has no magic. There are no solution to everything. They are tools to bring people together and to learn, to talk, to disagree as real citizens. So I want to thank you for your attention, and it's time for question and answer. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. That was great. I think maybe we'll give you a second to look at the Q&A, the question and answer. Martin, do you want to come back on any of the things that were said there?
Yeah, maybe just how do you see VR as an opportunity for learning? Because it's much more immersive, and there was no examples mentioning VR yet. But I've heard that there are plenty of applications for learning in VR as a new medium, or AR, both.
Okay. So that's a huge question. I don't know, because maybe VR as a media is a great way to learn things, and especially citizenship. But
just to be clear, VR is virtual reality, and AR is augmented reality.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, because
no, you're right.
You've got like just basic mothers like myself who are listening in here and who don't necessarily know this.
No, you're right. So virtual reality for video games for the moment, it doesn't work because there is a lot of technical problem with virtual reality. It's really complicated to make great gameplay with virtual reality. Yeah. So for the moment, it's not ready yet. But as a learning tool, maybe it's already a great tool. I don't know, because what I saw with virtual reality is a really great idea to put people in a universe, in a new world, you know, to live things. But for the moment, technically, it's not ready yet.
Okay, thanks. Look, I'm reading through different questions, and so I'll take them out bit by bit. Please know that more than 80 people have tuned in by now, so we'll try and get through the Q&A.
That's wonderful. 80 people.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's
Thanks
wonderful.
for joining us.
From
really.
all over Europe.
Yeah. Just on your last comment there, we have a comment about the fact that VR and AR are already used for learning in the vet sector. I guess that's vocational and educational training. Look, we have a quick question from Elizabeth, who is asking about the 5 strengths that you mentioned. No limits, learn by doing, enjoyable, problem-based.
No time limit yet.
And what was the first?
So I will just give you the, maybe can we send...
Instant feedback on your actions.
Maybe can we send the PowerPoint to all people after?
As a minimum, we're sending the PowerPoint for sure to everybody. So know that, and we can ask maybe Julien to integrate some of the links to the different games he mentioned. But just here for the crowd,
video will be shared on YouTube as well, so it'll be published normally. So we can also put it in the description of the video, all kinds of information that in addition to what was being said.
That's in addition to the questions there. But for Elizabeth and for all of us to be clear, you mentioned 5 strengths. Can you just take us through them again?
Yeah, so immediate feedback. Try and make errors as many times as you want. Learning by doing, enjoyable, and problem-based.
Okay, great, thank you. So that was a specific question in relation to that slide. We then have a question about how to access Chemin.
So it's really easy. You are going to my website, educageux.be, and you can download it for free because it's we were supported by Digital Wallonia, so we can. For the first time, I had a team because the 2 first edition I made it alone, and so you can download it for free and you can use it for free. You just have to mention the people who wrote inside this book.
Okay.
Is it in French or?
Yeah, for the moment it's only in French. Sorry.
But but translation software is your friend here. I mean, there's so many out there. I think we can try. And so if we type in Chemin and Julien Annart, we'll find it, I guess.
ETHNICITIES. Just go on the website. It's in the chat. We put it in the chat, and we also put it in the answers of the Q&A.
So I wrote the chapter about philosophy, and in this chapter you can have a total explanation of the game.
Great. I hope that answers that question. Then there was a question on how can we integrate it into a lesson? Blending learning, does that ring a bell?
Blending learning?
I wonder if that was a specific question related to what you were saying about Chemin. I don't know. Maybe if the person who formulated that question can formulate it again, so we can take a look. Then we have a comment. We had a first comment from Oliver about gambling mechanisms being built into video games. That was a general comment. Maybe if you want, you could comment on that or not.
But no, what's interesting with this, and you know, it was really a pleasure for me when Elizabeth and Martin invited me. I said, wow, what an honor. And when they say, we talk a lot of time about the subject, what are we going to say about citizenship? And I was really trying to understand this question, because I had an answer, but I was saying to me, no, your answer, you are told there is a lot of BS in your answer. So you must be more universal, you know? And after days and days, I said, oh, but there is so many things to say about citizenship in video game. And one of the things, you can really think about is about the business model. And the business model are really important because that's the first thing thought in video game is business model. And the business model is the heart of a lot of video games because they change everything. And free-to-play gambling mechanics, the gambling gameplay, change the games. The real problem with games like Candy Crush Saga is they don't have respect, in my point of view, they don't have respect with their players because they don't want the players to have a great experience because there's no better game than other, you know, hard game and bad games. No, that's not the question. Maybe, but I don't know. But the problem with these gambling mechanics is they push the game to give respect for players away. And that's really a problem, especially if the players are teenagers.
Yeah, I think the Fortnite example was very enlightening. Thank you for that, Oliver. I hope that gives some sort of element of answer in relation to the gambling aspect, but indeed online business or the business model of the game is indeed a very good tip if you're looking into games, you know, in terms of how to understand, you know, the general aims, I guess, of what it's trying to achieve. But yeah, so that was an interesting tip. And I think I'm going to go and start looking at games from that perspective as well, the business model. There's also a question on a specific game called Disco Elysium. Do you know it?
Yeah.
Where you have a major character and game-ending choices and consequences. This person is asking for a general feedback on this game. What is your take on it?
So I haven't played this game yet, but it's you know, it's really this is a critical success and also a public success. And one of the great things with this kind of game, what game we call role-playing games, is that you have a lot of freedom and you have to make a lot of choices, and these choices have consequences. And that's also a great way to learn because it's just like you know, experiment in science. What will this experiment give as results? And in video games, the same things with moral, with economics, with philosophy, etc. I try things and there are results. But if you are a teacher, I've learned that there are a lot of teachers today. You also have to know that video games are media. So they are not neutral in their answer, and their answer are the point of view of the creators. So you also have to learn to your students that this is really important to them to have critical point of view on their games. As you've seen. So I have my point of view about the game that I talk about. So I'm not sure Call of Duty do have a great political point of view. But as a teacher, I will never say that because that's not, as a teacher, I have to be more neutral. You know, we are between adults, so I can be a little bit less neutral, but you have to be more neutral, and you have to, maybe the most important thing to give to your students at any time of their life is to have a critical point of view, to be a real citizen. Maybe this is the best definition of a citizen, is people with point of view, with critical point of view.
It's interesting what you say. I mean, video games are not neutral. Yeah. That's already a first takeaway, I think. And the fact that, well, to fully enjoy them, critical thinking is pretty essential as well. Exactly. So, and that's a very much an offline skill to develop, critical thinking, in order to harness the full potential. So I guess it shows how there's a gray zone. Everything is quite blurred. Look, there's a question on what you think of video games like Animal Crossing. Have you ever heard it?
Yeah, of course.
About demonstrations that are organized within video games, which, for instance, are banned in some countries.
So Animal Crossing is already an old series. There are already several different titles, and the last one is really a huge worldwide success because it's a really quiet game when you are on a highland with different people, and all you make is really day-to-day things. You manage your house, you talk to other people. There is no violence. It seems to be a really peaceful game. And so this is a great success because during the lockdown, it's really a peaceful game, and it's anti-stress game. But what's also interesting with Animal Crossing is in this game.
Sorry, what is the anti-stress game?
Animal Crossing.
Oh, it's an anti-stress. Okay.
Yeah, you can say, yeah. I'm not sure it's good in English, but in French you can say that.
Okay.
Sorry. But what's also interesting is about the gameplay of the game. So the gameplay is really peaceful, but you can also sell things in the game. And to sell things, there are markets, and markets with high price or low price. So you can, this is just like real markets. And there are also websites to manage to make more money with the things you sell. So the games is really peaceful, really cartoonish games, but in the gameplay there is really some capitalist things to do that are really rough, and there are really people trying to optimize their production in this game. So that's also really interesting to analyze. Not to saying that's good or bad, but to understand how the things works. Because citizenship is about that. It's about giving to citizens the tools so they can be citizens, so they can analyze their world, and they can make decisions with all the information.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question about any games you can recommend for children with intellectual disabilities. I don't know if this is your field, or if you have any ideas.
So this is really a great question, because
we absolutely try to promote accessibility. We have lots of families of persons with disabilities in the COFEC network, and so accessible gaming is also something we would touch upon.
So this is a great question, because that's really a question for the industry since a few years. So as I talked in my talk, the industry is changing since 5 or maybe 10 years, because video games are everywhere. So today, the citizens say how everyone should be able to play video games, and everyone should be able to play video game for them. So women can play video game. They don't have to be bullied in the video game. They don't have to be represented as trophies. Non-white people should also have heroes in video games. They should also recognize themselves in video game, etc., etc., LGBTQ, etc. And for the question of accessibility is really a great question, because that's really a matter for games in 5 years. So today there is a lot of options in games to be more accessible. The first option that appears 20 years ago was for people that not saying green and red colors. And today you can make so many different options, but there is still a really great problem of accessibility with joypad, joysticks, the tools to play with video games, because if you are if you don't have viable hands, that's really not easy to play. So maybe to give some advice, one of the easiest way to play is mobile. So a tablet is really the easiest way to play. We talk about Monument Valley. Monument Valley is really an accessible game because it's really great to play with children. And there is not so many interactions. So even with disabilities, you can play this game.
And for the intellectual disability angle, I don't know if you have any ideas specifically, or if it's something we can think about maybe?
I've worked with two schools with that kind of children, and we talked so much to prepare our workshop, but there was not a success because what's really difficult with that kind of disabilities that in the school there are so many different kind of disabilities, and so half of the children have no problem with the game we've selected in our workshop, and the other half can play, and that was really a boring experience for them. I was really ashamed, and the teachers said, you don't have to be ashamed, it's difficult. So intellectual disabilities are so different. I can give you one advice, but there is more and more non-governmental association doing work about that, giving advice. Yeah, and even with great publishers like Sony, etc. Now they have special team about that question. So it's changing, but there is still a lot to do.
Okay, thanks. Maybe it's something for the subject of a new webinar.
Yeah.
We also have a question from Belgium. Is the PEGI code useful? Do you know that code?
Yeah.
Peggy.
Yeah.
PEGI.
PEGI. So so PEGI is the Pan-European Game Information.
Pan-European Gaming
Information
code.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not really pan-European because some countries like Great Britain, etc., have other codes. But PEGI is really interesting because 25 years ago there was a lot of a bad buzz about video game because a lot of people saying, okay, video games are killing machine, and they teach children to kill, and so. Bad buzz is good buzz. So the industry say, oh yeah, talk about video game, we will sell video game, they will be great. But after a few months, some politicians say, okay, there is a problem, so we are going to manage this problem, and we are going to make laws about video game, and we are going to some game will not be sold. And so the industry say, whoa, no, we are going to manage it, we are going to make ourselves an information for everyone. So the problem will not be the game, the problem will be the parents who buy the game. Yeah, it's a little bit hypocrite, but and so this is a non-governmental agency paid by all the publishers. So if you want to publish a game, you have to submit the game to PEGI, and they will give you a code. But the problem, the PEGI is doing interesting job. It's doing interesting work, but the problem is PEGI is not giving you advice or the age you can play the video game. I will give you an example.
So it's not age-appropriate advice?
No, it's just age about what's inside the game. So
okay.
I will give you an example. You know FIFA. FIFA is one of the best-selling games. So you play football players, and FIFA is PEGI 3. So if you follow PEGI, you can play FIFA from 3 years old. No, that's not possible because FIFA is really a technical game. Maybe you can play Monument Valley from 3 years old because it's just trying to push on a screen. It's easier. And so PEGI is not an information to help parents if the game is for their children. It's just an information of what's inside the game. Bad words, nudity, drugs, etc., etc. So PEGI maybe should be more could give more information.
Thank you, Laura, for sharing.
But do you have any resources for parents where they can find lists of good video games or appropriate video games for their children?
So there is a website. I don't remember, of course, now, but there is a website. But what's interesting with this website? So there is a really complete website with a lot of information, but it's done by a non-governmental association, but a Christian non-governmental association. So, but there is no real, how can I say? There is no real BS. So the game is not, you don't have to be Christian to play the game on this website. But it's interesting to say that this idea came from moral agency.
Okay, thanks. We've also got a suggestion here of another source, Common Sense Media Ratings.
Maybe is that, yeah.
We can look into it. Okay, let's try and manage this. We have 10 minutes. So we've got a few comments on diversity and representativeness of society coming up in terms of, like you said, LGBTQI.
Common Sense Media is the website, sorry. This is
yeah, that could be a good source as well to look into. Thanks, Elizabeth. But there are different comments, you know. I think lots of people, relate to what you were saying about toxic masculinity. You know, as our president says here in the comments, gender equality is one of our absolute, core values. And so, generally speaking, inclusive societies. So that notion that, video games don't always represent the full diversity out there is definitely something to look out for. We've got Giuliano saying that in many cases, parents don't really care enough about what the children are doing with their devices. Maybe indeed there could be more of an understanding. That's why we're trying to, also educate ourselves and lots of family organizations in COFACE. By the way, a big shout out to them. It's thanks to them this is happening, this whole series. Many of them have these kind of parental support programs to try and help them understand all these different layers, including gaming, of course.
But what's really interesting with this question is that's the same thing with philosophy. If you want to try to give a definition of philosophy, you're already making philosophy. And if you want to try to give an answer to this political problem, you're already doing politics. Because if the problem is parents, this is a political answer. You can give another political answer to say, yeah, parents maybe all the parents don't make great job about games, maybe, but who give them information? The children will not give information, because when I was a teacher full time, a lot of my students say, yeah, maybe playing GTA at my age is not great, but my parents don't know, so there is no problem. And the children were using the fact that their parents know nothing about the video game to make what they want. So maybe in my point of view, but my point of view is my point of view, it's not neutral. In my point of view, it's important to help parents, to give them tools. It's also why this book, Educage, is free, because what I hope is that so many different people can read it and to have tools to make good decisions. I'm not used to blame parents, because a lot of parents, they would like to make the best for their children, but they don't have tools to make it. And that's really important with video games. We have to give tools to parents. I think so.
No, absolutely. We're used to people not always being happy with parents and putting the blame on parents in many fields, but it's pretty stressful. And that's where, most of the members of COFACE are NGOs that provide all kinds of support programs to families, including in the digital field. And I'll just pitch here our digital families map. Take a look at it, because you see lots of interesting stuff. So indeed, I think it's like the executive vice president said in her video message, it's a shared responsibility, okay, on many, many levels. And of course, families have their own share of responsibility, but they can't, have the whole burden of in relation to protecting their children and making sure that the gaming has a positive effect on them. Actually, we have a question from Croatia. Are there, and I think it's the last one we'll be able to take, guys and girls, sorry about this. Are there any research or psychologists' opinions about the positive effects of gaming on young people? Or do they perhaps encourage in some segment greater socialization, real life participation, so that gaming can actually really boost the offline lives of people?
The problem is, for the moment, that's the same problem for almost everything about video games except violence, but we don't have a long time research about almost all the questions. Except violence, because violence, there are studies in 20 years, and all the studies and you know, massive studies, not only about 20 people, but all the studies, so there is no link between real life violence and violence in video game. But about education, about addiction, about everything, there is not yet long time research enough to be sure. So a lot of research for the moment show that you can learn things in video games, but the thing you learn is the rules of the video game. So there are great tools to learn their rules. And that's also why I said that we need people around video games. So the fact is, video games are great tools to connect people, but you also have to connect people by association, by agencies, etc., by teachers, by educators, by everyone. The teacher, video games can be a way to connect people. Yeah.
Can I take a last one from Jorge? Any comment on the Roblox business model? What is that?
Roblox. No.
I wish I knew. You seem to know.
No. I'm laughing because that's great. Because I'm laughing because I'm happy to talk with people that know video games. Because usually that's not the case.
We kind of have 2 more minutes left.
Yes, sorry. So Roblox is some kind of game. This is really a huge game. There is almost 100 million players, and mostly are teenagers or children. And in this game, you can build games. It's close to Minecraft, some kind of. And with this game, you can build games, and other player can play in your games. So that's really a great game for creativity, for social linking, etc., etc. But it's a free game. So you can download it for free, but if you want to install some features, you have to pay. So I don't know. I'm not as good as this game, so I can't give you good advice about its business model. All the things I know, it seems really interesting for creativity.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Julien, and thank you everybody for sharing your different questions, thoughts, and there are more comments coming in. It's wonderful. All I can say is let's continue the discussion, okay? Online, let's stay in touch, please. Follow each other. We'll be in touch anyway. We'll obviously put the recording of this online at some point, end of May. Please tune into the next Digital Citizenship Breakfast Bytes. Lots of more interesting speakers to come. What can I say? The registrations are going up and up and up. Please, the more the merrier. Spread the word, you know. Julien, if you can add some of the links to your presentation, I think there was quite a demand out there.
Yeah,
and voilà. Yeah, that would be great. So, grand merci. Thank you very much. Martin, yeah,
thanks a lot.
You'll be here tomorrow, right? For the Breakfast Byte of the European Commission. Great.
Yes.
And yeah, let's stay in touch and enjoy the rest of your day. And what can I say? Cheers.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, all of you. Take care.